Welcome, fellow Biafrans, lovers of freedom across the world. Thank you so much for joining us on this very episode of the program. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, like, and share this program to all platforms. Share to family and friends. Make sure you get across to everyone because it is very important. This is a very important joint press interview between Biafra, Republic Government in Exile, Prime Minister Mazi Simon Ekpa, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Biafra, and President of Eritrea Government in Exile, Gabriel Baduria. It is a very mind-blowing and first in the history. Please watch carefully from beginning to end. You'll be glad you did. Let's watch and hear what they have to say.
All right, welcome everybody to the show. We are live now on Galad Media. This is Karar Hiyabu, and I have the honor to have you. Welcome everybody to the show. As a guest, I'm sorry. This interview with a friendly media is considered as an introduction to each other's audience and introduces a moral law firm forum to the public. We assume that Prime Minister Simon is talking and educating the Eritrean audience while Mr. President, Mr. G, to the Biafran people. Thanks the Honorable Prime Minister Simon Ekpa for being on my program, Mr. President Gabriel Badurai, Eritrean Transitional Government in Exile, and Mr. Elias, the Vice President of Modern Strategies Incorporation. Thank you so much for being on my show, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry I have to say this because we're starting this program late, and it is obviously for technical issues. And I want to say this also in my own language, in Tigrinya, to my audience. زي مدى بزي نظام كبرات عقايش عبزي أمسنا لو حسيبنا زنورنا بناي تكنيك ساقم قرب دونجنا نجمر لنا نتنز دونجنا تعمي غريتانا حتت جميرنا لنا إذا مدى بزينا كلنا خباصة حشر نداقبتكم لايك سابسكرايب أقداسنتو لومي منقستي إريترا أب دقي مستر بهدوراي زلوم ناي قربابتنا ون ناي بيافرا منقستي أب دقي برايم منستر سايمون إكبا كالون أتو إلياس زلوم أقايش يوم كخونو مدبنا من البات نساعات يوك خيد سلازي بتمناخد سمعنان كتقاطعتنان بخبري يعدم. So welcome again to the show, and I have the honor to have you on this show on Galad Media. As a start, can you give us, Prime Minister Simon, your brief background on who you are, how and when did you join the struggle for self-determination of the Biafran people, and also when and how did you become the Prime Minister of the Biafran movement? Are you mate?
Thank you very much, Mr. Hiyabu. I'm very happy to be part of this historic moment today, speaking on your channel for the very first time in that side of Africa. My name's Ekpa Njoku. I am a Biafran, and I joined the liberation of independent state of Biafra in 2019. And after the kidnap of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, from Kenya, and extraordinarily rendition to Nigeria in quest to end the Biafra struggle, I emerged as the leader of the then autopilot. The autopilot movement of the Biafra liberation metamorphosed to the Biafra government in exile and the de facto government in the homeland. And I was elected as the Prime Minister of the Biafra government, both in the homeland and in exile, on the 9th of April 2023. So I have been the Prime Minister of Biafra government since April 2023 to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Also, I would like to welcome the audience that who are following us, especially the people from the Biafra. And this show is very much about the Eritrean and the Biafran people. And I think they have a lot of stuff, things related, So we are on the same struggle. And this program is one of the tools and means that we are using in our struggle. Mr. President Bahdurai as well, can you give us a background history of yourself and the transitional Eritrean government in exile?
Great. Primarily, I think I want to thank you, Mr. Hiyabu, for having us here. And I also want to give the Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, so do Mr. Ilyas for being here with us. This is only the beginning of so many to come. So I think we are very happy to be here together. My name is Gabri Bahadurai, and I am the founder and also the president of the transitional Eritrean government in exile. For so many years, yes, since even young age, I was one of the early victims of Exodus. That was 1977, since the time, if not only one time, for 30 years, because of the existing government. I couldn't even visit my family. I couldn't be back home, while I was even welcomed 2 weeks ago to go to Ethiopia. Therefore, we decided, after so many struggle through the political parties and many different waves of people's movement in other sense, so I didn't see much to work. So I came up with the idea a little bit different, which is government in exile. If you're going to fight a government, you might act and prepare yourself as a government so you don't become a failed state, because it's not only for the sake of changing the government. So what after changing the government? Anything you try to remove something, you must think about replacement. So for that reason, 2.5 years, we introduced this government in exile, officially registered under the State Department of Justice. Going forward, even now, we are also working in order to elevate our program through the lobbying firm of Moran and Enterprise. And for that reason, that's why Mr. Elias is here, and he's the one to introduce both of us. So with that, I think I'll let it sit here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. G. Going forward, Mr. Elias, Vice President of the Moran Strategies Incorporation lobbying firm, can you tell us who you who you are and what role do you play with the Biafra and the Eritrean government in exile?
Thank you so much. I'm greatly honored to be here with all of you. As noted, I am a lobbyist with Moran Global Strategies, which is a lobbying firm founded by my good friend and colleague, James Moran, who served as a member of Congress representing Virginia for about a quarter of a century. Our firm has a great specialty in representing foreign clientele, whether it be foreign governments, foreign political parties, or corporations, amongst other clients, which include defense companies and a wide variety of causes. Our firm represents both the Biafra Republic government in exile. We also represent the Eritrean government in exile and the transitional president of Eritrea, Gebre Badurai. And these are not only clients, but also good and dear friends as well. And our firm, because we represent both clients, we brought both these Biafran causes and Eritrean causes together because it's always beneficial to see if there's mutual synergy between clients. To give you a layman's perspective, if you will, of what is lobbying at a granular level, which I think will be helpful for your audience. Similar to, I think the best analogy, which I think will make this lobbying, which oftentimes can be overly complicated, in a very simple, practical, and easy to understand way, is similar to how people hire accountants to do their taxes, or people hire lawyers to navigate the legal process. People hire lobbyists to navigate the political process and to influence public policy. Now, theoretically, you don't need a lobbyist. Everyone has the right to petition the government, but you have a much better chance of influencing policy, of having a voice in the room if you have a lobbyist. The same thing is in court. You could technically go into court without a lawyer, but if you go into court without a lawyer and on the opposite side you have a lawyer that's from a top law firm being paid $1,000 an hour, you're probably going to lose the case. The same thing applies here. We have expertise, we have an understanding of how Washington works, and we have relationships. Many of the members of Congress who are still in Congress have served in Congress with my colleague Jim Moran. He knows them. They know him. Many members of Congress know me. Many people in the think tank community know me. So when we make meeting requests on behalf of our clients, or when we try to relay items on behalf of our clients, it's not coming from a stranger. It's coming from a friend, a familiar voice. And look, I want to be clear. When we make requests, it doesn't automatically mean the member of Congress is going to do whatever we request or whatever we want. But we're in a position where we could have direct access, where we could put our clients face to face with the member of Congress, with their staffer, with the think tank official, with the stakeholders, where they could have that direct access, which is very difficult to get if you don't have a lobbyist. I'm just being very frank with you, because these offices are inundated with thousands of requests a day from people, most of whom they don't even know. And so the reaction you're going to have when you have someone that is a known quantity versus someone you never heard of before, it's going to be completely different. And because of what our activities, we're already seeing the results. Most recently, for example, the American Enterprise Institute and one of its senior scholars, Dr. Michael Rubin, who I've known personally for many years, published a very influential article talking about the Biafra self-referendum. This has not been ever done before. Biafra, until our engagement, really hasn't been discussed in Washington, D.C. But now, because of our efforts, one of the world's most influential think tanks is publishing about Biafra. With President Badarai, we've had a series of high-level meetings with Congressman Sherman, with Ambassador Nagy. Ambassador Nagy also met with the Biafran Prime Minister, and they published these meetings. They issued tweets, which generated enormous publicity and also have caused us to receive attacks from the Eritrean Minister of Information. So with our activities, we're able to directly influence U.S. policy on behalf of our clients and to get real results, which would be difficult to achieve otherwise. And so, I view us as the spokesperson, if you will, or the spokespeople for these two noble causes here in Washington, D.C. We've made enormous progress, and I think we'll continue to make a significant more progress in the next coming weeks and months. So I just want to give you the 60,000-foot overview of generally what is a lobbyist, what it is that we do, why we're important. And I'm sure your audience can understand, when a congressperson receives a call from someone they served in Congress with for 20 years, it's going to be reacted to differently than a random phone call to their office. So I think this should be an easy message to comprehend. I think it's an important one for your audience to know. And I'm happy to discuss more specifics in the course of our conversation, but I just want to give you and your audience a 60,000-foot overview.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that, Mr. Elias, Vice President of the Modern Strategies. Going back to Prime Minister, the Honorable Simon Ekpa, can you give us some of the reasons why the Biafran people needed to be independent of the Nigerian government?
Thank you very much, Mr. Haibu, for that question. Biafra was forcefully joined together with Nigeria, other ethnic tribe in Nigeria, other ethnic nationalities, And during this forceful union, which was named the Amalgamation of 1914, the people that made up of the Niger area, which is today Nigeria, were not consulted. And people did not consent to find themselves, into this forceful union. And it may interest you that it is only in Nigeria that we have what is called a dangerous diversity. And in this dangerous diversity from 1914, we have seen Nigeria supervising death of millions upon millions of indigenous people, both those that were massacred and killed by the terrorists that are invading Nigeria from other parts of the world. Unchallenged, the history of the northern Nigeria, which was conquered by a man called Usman Dan Fodio, is what they are struggling all the time to replicate in this modern century. So Biafra found themselves in this forceful union with a very dangerous diversity of culture, diversity of religion, diversity of language, everything. We are pulled apart from each other. Of course, it is not just about this diversity, but also the killings for a particular targeted purpose. And everybody understands that during the pogrom against the Biafrans in the north in 1945, it resulted to what led to the war, because the leaders of Biafra then decided that we can no longer continue to watch our people getting killed every day in Nigeria. And that led to the declaration of Biafra in 1967. Now, fast forward, after the war of Biafra in Nigeria, genocide ended, there was something they called Triple R, which was introduced by the then president military ruler called One. And of course, on that ground and basis, Biafrans lay down their weapons. After that, Triple R
network.
I think we're having some challenges.
Yes. Until.
Am I being heard?
Yeah, I think yeah, we have some
network
problems. Yeah, we can go forward and then
yes,
come
and then
back.
Come back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Come back to you.
Yeah, I can continue. It is
okay. Good.
I can
good.
continue.
Yeah.
It is one of those things. Yeah,
yeah.
It is one of those things we see in a movement like this. You're gonna see cyber attack. You're gonna see all manner of interruption.
That's true.
When the opposition and the evil enablers and their inventors are trying to disrupt this wonderful and historic program. So we are not going to be moved by all the interruption and all that. We will continue to focus on why we are here today. Whenever you stop hearing me, please call my attention. And when I also notice there is a problem on this side, I will also adjust. So going forward,
keep the fight on, Mr. President, Prime Minister. Keep the fight going on. Yes, we will continue.
Thank you. So going forward, Nigeria today no longer function as a law-governed state. incapable of resolving its political problem, socio-political problem, the diversity problem, the ethnic crisis, the invention of the jihadist movement all over Nigeria. Nigeria have demonstrated that they are incapable of solving these problems. And so we have witnessed the massacre of people within the Nigeria state. We have witnessed the killings of indigenous people, and this killings is spreading very wide up to now to the southern part of Nigeria. And of course, these terrorists are struggling also to invade Biafra land. And they are being backed by the Nigeria state. As we see today, the Nigeria government is being controlled by these extremists. And then of course, the Biafra people are completely different people from different background, different ethnic nationality, different religions and all that. So we decided that we will not rely on Nigeria protection, otherwise the original plan of a man called Usman Danfodio will come to fruition. Biafra decided that we are going to take this upon ourselves, as the leaders of the Biafra in the 60s have created the awareness and of course tried to defend Biafrans that are getting killed all over Nigeria. And of course that particular attempt failed in what we see as a genocide. Nigeria have not been tried in any court for the starvation of Biafrans and the war crime against Biafra people. Today, Nigeria security agents are all infiltrated by Boko Haram and other terrorist groups. And these terrorists are being sent to different parts of Nigeria, either to directly attack and enable the conquest of other ethnic nationalities, or they are going to be there to supervise and share the terrorists while they sack villages and communities. On a daily basis, we witness hundreds and hundreds of people getting killed, many kidnapped for ransom, and Nigeria government does nothing about these crimes every day. So the Biafra government, both in the homeland and in exile, has taken up the responsibility for defending Biafra people, providing the security that Nigeria has failed to provide. And of course, in this particular quest for our freedom, we decided to use multidimensional approach because we know the complexity of a fight like this, especially in a globalization where all the political correctness, people who believe in political correctness are in power. You will see where people are getting massacred and you overlook it, or you want to use a soft word to either defend the perpetrators or to ask the victims to calm down and obey law and order. How can you be asking somebody to obey law and order where there is no law and order? If there is no law and order, if there is any law and order in Nigeria where we will be, asked to calm down and wait for law enforcement to take its course, you will not have people killed in the first place. The people who are supposed to enforce the law are the people that are killing. And they have become the terrorists because they have been infiltrated. The commanders, generals in the army are all affiliated to Boko Haram and Islamic jihadist movement. So Nigeria started as a secular state from 1960. It was called a secular state. Secular state in the sense that there is no official religion, there is no official language and all that, only language that ethnically, like dialect, and all that the general language, accepted language and official language become English. Today, as I speak to you, Nigeria from the back door have adopted the Islamic Sharia law without referendum. That secular state has disappeared to the blue moon. In Nigeria today, under our very own eyes, the northern state adopted Sharia law without referendum. Because in that northern state, you have people who are not Muslims, people who migrated from other parts of Nigeria to the northern state, and they are not Muslims. And during the time they were migrating, Nigeria constitution says secular state. And today, they found themselves in an extreme Islamic Sharia state. where their heads are being cut off, where they are stoning them to death at any provocation, where the people who don't even know anything about the religion are being stoned to death, and of course those that are made open. We'll talk about it. One of the recent one is a lady called Deborah. Deborah is not a Muslim. She's a Christian. She was accused of blasphemy, even when she's not part of their religious movement. She was stoned to death. We are not against Muslims. We are friends of Muslims. We have Muslim friends all over the world. But what we are saying is that let live and let live. If you must have a Sharia in Nigeria, and those people who have agreed to have a Sharia law in their state, they can have their independence. Not necessarily deceiving the people in the sense that they are in Nigeria, where you have a secular state, only for them to realize that if they talk anything against their religion, they're going to get killed and stoned to death. And they are still living in that delusional state of a secular state. Today, Nigeria is being recognized by the United Kingdom as one of the Islamic state. That was the exact word that Macron used, that Nigeria, an Islamic state, was one of those countries that were negotiating the ceasefire with Israel and Palestine, and of course supporting the killing of Israel, the invasion of Hamas against Israel territory, which recorded killings and abduction of innocent women and children. Now, again, the dangerous diversity is this: while Nigeria will go to the UN General Assembly to vote and support the state of Palestine, they kill us with guns just for coming out to protest and say that we are ready to also have an independent state. Biafra has suffered the highest, they have become the highest victim in order to continue to push the message and narrative of one Nigeria. We lost 3 million children, not to burn, not to bomb, but to starvation. That was the war crime committed, one of the war crimes committed by Nigeria, and of course, they have probably escaped being tried for that crime because of the time the UN and of course the International Criminal Court came in place. Having said that, it is not enough that after these 3 million children died, today we are facing times 1,000 of what led to the war that supervised the death of over 3 million. Is it not reasonable for the entire globe, the entire world, those who participated in forcing Biafrans and killing Biafrans and advising Nigeria on how to do blockade over Biafra? Are they not ashamed of themselves today that the Nigeria they cherished and loved so much has collapsed? Nigeria has no other thing to do other than to kill, to lie, involve in international crime, fraud, internet cyber crime, and what have you. Terrorism is on the high rise. Internet fraud is on the high rise. Everybody in Nigeria, if you are not involved in war crime or the other, you will never survive. So Nigeria breeds criminals. And because some of us who have come this far to know how to build a state and make a society a better one, we have risen up to say we will end this particular subjugation of our people, making sure that we do not excel, making sure that we don't develop ourselves, and the only way that we can come out of this subjugation is to have our independent state of Biafra. And I want to make it very clear that we are not declaring independence of Biafra. Rather, we are restoring the already declared independence. It was declared in 1967. So we have a history. And today, everyone have seen the nosedive Nigeria, how Nigeria is nosediving. And we are not the only country or the only nation that are following this path. It may also interest you that Lithuania, who is one of the powerful countries today in this part of Europe, was also facing similar thing in the past. before they actually declared their independence. So the Lithuania was, the declaration of the Lithuania was actually the restoration of an independent state which they initially proclaimed in a relatively recent past as at then, and Lithuania redeclared the restoration of their independence. And that's exactly one of the paths the Biafrans are following today. We will issue a declaration to restore our lost independence, which was declared in 1967. And then also a similar thing proclamation was made by a nation called Sahawari. I don't know how many of you know this nation called Sahrawi, the Arab Democratic Republic of Sahrawi in Western Sahara. Their proclamation of the 1976 is exact thing that the Biafra, of course, almost the same thing that Biafra are following today. In this region, in this country, their liberation witness, at least, they took over some portion of their territory and Morocco controlled the rest. And those areas where they are controlling, where they are very strong, is called a free zone. So people should understand that if there is no event, there is no history. You have to create the solution that suits your problem. And what we are doing today is the combination of many process, of many procedure, of many pathway to freedom. Because Nigeria is a complex state, especially with vested interests of the world powers. So what we are trying to do is to profile the solution to the, imagining an upsurge of terrorists from Africa. We imagining as a nation will prevent this upsurge of terrorists. And the emergence of Biafra as an independent state will also restore peace. And the lasting peace in the Sahel region is a fact. With the way this whole thing is going today, there is a need for Biafra to emerge so that the West and those who believe in civilization will have real alliance in Africa. As it stands today, there is no real alliance in Africa. And what I do not believe is when they say the Western influence. There is nothing like that in our own ideology. What we have is civilization influence. And we are embracing civilization, and civilization we will embrace. Continue to follow the path of civilization, because that's exactly the pathway to a better society. Nigeria today has opened what they call Center for Eradication of Innovation. Innovation is part of civilization, and they are eradicating it. So we have different ideology, different belief, everything is different, everything is pulled apart. So the only way we can develop ourselves, attain our potentials, is to govern ourselves in the name of self-determination. So this is the reason we are saying that the world must listen to us now. We have solution, especially to all the problems that are emanating from the West Africa, Sahel region, and of course the issue of the upsurge of terrorists. The emergence of Biafra will first of all cut all the interest that the terrorists have, which made them to start flowing into Nigeria. And you know what that interest is? They are looking for safe haven, where they can tap on the natural resources, make money, sponsor attack in Europe, sponsor attack in America, and the emergence of Biafra will stop that. Thank you very much. There are many things to say, but I know that a lot of people are here who want to say something. Thank you very much. This is the reason.
It's okay. It's okay.
Or die is our logo and our slogan going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all this brief, Prime Minister Simon. And the next question will be, Mr. President, Mr. G. Eritrea is an independent nation. So what is your government in exile struggle all about? And if you are not fighting for independence like the Biafran people, what is missing from the Eritrean people? Mr. President, you are on mute.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I say before I proceed with the question, I want to commend the Prime Minister for well articulated and also detailed. I think this is more history we heard than ever. A lot of people may not be familiar with the Biafran issue. They might think it's a dead issue, but as you can see, it is well alive and moving. We also have a good friend in them. There's a lot of familiarities that we carry in common, and I think we are together in this fight. Coming back to your question, Mr. KHA, as you might know, yes, Eritrea is independent since 1991. And unfortunately, the Eritrea has had high aspirations to govern itself as an inclusive, peaceful, and democratic administration is what we expected. In that particular 1991, not only Eritrea, Ukraine became independent the same year. They decided to go the democratic way. Unfortunately, we went to a dictatorship. And this authoritarian regime we have today, it hijacked the dreams and aspirations. And the Eritrean people have found themselves in a nation without law. We don't have constitution or even any necessary institution. At this juncture, for the last 33 years, no election, no constitution. Where in the world do we hear, where in the world that it exists except in this small tiny Eritrea? You know, we earned our independence through a long bloody struggle, and we paid dearly, many sacrifices. But all this, Eritrean people, dignity, the freedom, it has been betrayed. The struggle hijacked by the oppressive regime only to serve the interest of the few. The economy depleted, and the people's social fabric fragmented. So in order to change this is why from that independence, we have people that are not free inside Eritrea. People that live in fear. People that are jailed without any good reason. In this juncture, in our history, we have had over 100 factories in our nation, so long before any African nations, but he kind of closed them all. So people cannot function, people cannot work. The single university we had, it has been shut down. We have some colleges who don't have universities, but what we have is 360 underground jails, prisons. People are fearful. They're all running away from home. Our youth, which they are conscripted in the nation for lifetime. This is what some European nations categorize as slavery. This minority level. They work for nothing. They could not go to school, could not work, could not make family. Everybody, as any juncture, I think they are heading to exodus. This is what created in our life before. Eritreans are a very strong people. They love their nation. They love their people. They love their culture. However, at this right moment, every child were used to be saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yes, he will say, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a mathematician. But today, I'm dismayed to hear any young kid, if he has been asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? He will simply and clearly would tell you, he wants to run away. He wants to run away. So we cannot have this sort of nation building together. And I think we are in a really failed nation as it is. The nation is going the wrong way. The gentleman goes towards the Russians, Chinese at this moment. And we are, as a transitional government in exile, yes, we are pro-West, Yes, we are pro-democracy. Yes, we are pro-justice and for the rule of law. So all of our efforts, even though we have independence, we never had the freedom for the people. Therefore, this is our fight for our people, and we tend to get it to the highest level. And I think in this juncture, it is about time. The time is due for this despotic government. Maybe it's time to leave the nation. Whatever happened did happen. We don't want it to get any worse than it is, so we can restore democracy. We can restore justice. We can let out all those prisoners, political prisoners, journalists, and many women and men that are in jail for nothing. There is a fear, even if relatives, loved ones are in jail. It became a time you cannot ask about them. If you go to ask, yes, you better be thinking twice. And so the people are living in the dark. No wonder they called us the North Korea of Africa. Plus, even worse, you know what North Korea does? But ours, we were given the name the North Korea of Africa, and that would explain a lot. So without saying much, yes, we are not fighting for independence, but yes, we are fighting for our freedom, a freedom at home. And this is what we are fighting as a transitional Eritrean government in exile. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hiabu, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been on mute. Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Guy. Mr. Elias, in a short period of the modern strategies involvement with these two governments in exile, you believe have been achieved?
We've achieved enormous success for both the Biafran government and the Eritrean transitional government within just a 2-month period. In the case of Biafra, to be honest with you, when we initially established the relationship with the Prime Minister, there had been, I would say, a minimal or negligible knowledge of Biafra in the United States. Even U.S. officials who dealt with Nigeria were really not aware of the Biafran issue. And we've arranged for the Prime Minister, as well as other members of the government, to meet directly with congressional officials, members of Congress, senior advisors, senior staffers, people outside of the government who are very influential, the think tanks. And within a short period of time, Washington, D.C. has gone from not talking about Biafra to now, as I mentioned previously, being written about in one of the most prestigious think tanks in Washington, D.C., the American Enterprise Institute. So I think it's been an enormous success, and this is just the beginning. And
I thank you for listening. Please share this program to all platforms. Share to family and friends. Reach out to anybody can reach out to, so that we can be able to fight this battle to a winning. I appreciate you. Thank you for being part of the program, and stay blessed. Biafra government, peace, unity, progress, and equity. Freedom or die.